Welcome back, Jordana here, and I'm so thrilled to be joined by one of my favorite guests. Every time I see him and hear him, my blood pressure drops a little bit. Joe Lindsley is joining us from Ukraine, and I follow him daily on his Instagram account at Joe Lindsley. Please follow him on Instagram and also follow Ukrainian Freedom Network. And Joe, I'm so happy to see you, and you look like you're in a very peaceful setting. So can you share your location? I don't want to put you at risk at all.
Sure, absolutely. I'm Jordana. It's great to see you as well. And I'm here in the Carpathian Mountains of Western Ukraine. Not so far. This region is calm and safe in many ways. Lately we've had air alarms maybe once every day. Before I got here a month ago, there was one strike nearby this little village where I am, which is a reminder that everyone is at risk. I came here, I planned only to be here for a few days. And then I think I really realized how much of a rest I needed because I've been going nonstop since February 24th. And so many friends from Lviv and from the East and from all around Ukraine have come here to visit for a few days. And so like the same way at our news headquarters in Lviv, we provided a refuge for soldiers and others. Now this has become a de facto second headquarters where people can come take a rest and share their stories and their emotions during this time.
Joe, it's been 186 days. Is that right?
168. Yeah.
168 days since the war started. And of course, Joe's been there since 2020, really. You've been living in Ukraine since 2020, for those just tuning in, but stayed during the war and founded Ukrainian Freedom Network to share the truth and also to be a resource for Ukrainians. We know you're collecting money. We know you're getting boots to those fighting on the ground. Your service does everything. But I always want to know how you are. What is your current status? Are you feeling safe? I know you're taking a break. It's hard to think about taking a break during a wartime that you can even find a safe space. So how are you today, Joe?
Jordana, thanks. And it's so great to see you. As I said, we are in a very and it's a change of setting here, but we're in a very intense phase of this. Every phase has been intense in its own ways, but I think we're in a time of informational maneuvering was the best I can describe it, where in the east on the front lines in Donetsk, where I was a few months ago, the Russians have barely made any territorial progress in 2 months. This is largely thanks to the amazing weapons that have come from the west, the HIMARS, which allow Ukrainians to hit Russian targets from a safer distance. So those have really worked. I think out of frustration, the Russians have been pounding villages and cities in the east and the south every day. The city of Nikopol, from which I spoke to you all a few weeks, I think in late June, that's right across the river from where the Russian controlled territory. The Russians control the largest nuclear plant in Europe, which is very scary. Right across from the city of Nikopol, that city is hit every single day now with artillery shells from across the river. So it's very terrible. And but there is sort of the Russians have not made a lot of progress on the ground, and so we're in this. Sorry, Jordana. Up.
Russians are going to care at all about that. Okay, Joe, we have you back now. Oh, we hope we have him back. I don't know if we lost you, Joe.
Jordana, I'm back.
Okay, good. He's
okay,
back.
Good. And I realize. Oh, sorry. I realized in answering your question, I skipped. Like, you asked a very personal question, and I went away from that. And I think part of that's because we are it's a very difficult phase right now. People are very tired. I think in so many conversations I have with people, tears are just around the corner. And whether they've been fighting in the East, I was talking with a girl who works in IT, and her father's fighting in the East. She's still trying to do her job every day. There's a lot of difficulty. Amnesty International released this report accusing Ukraine, not Russia, of putting civilians in harm's way. And even the head of the Swedish Amnesty International has resigned in protest of this. But we're in this point of the war where the Russians are frustrated with their slow progress, are really pushing on the information war level, and some of the financial support from the West is slowing down. And there's a concern among Ukrainians that the Russians are going to keep pounding while the world gets bored. Inflation is causing lots of problems back home in America. And this is all part of the Russian strategy, I think. And so people are tired. People are struggling to keep going. I mean, they have this incredible bravery, but this is a very we had the adrenaline of the first few months, and now it's a very different phase of this war.
So talk to me about resources and morale. As you mentioned, it's been 168 days. Maybe some of the support globally has slowed down. I want to know what you need from America. And I'm sorry that maybe some of the weapons have been slowing down. We can't control that, but we can talk to our leaders in Congress and in the government. And do you see a way out of this? Do you see Russia ever stopping? How can the Ukrainians be victorious?
Well, this week we did, and we have a very interesting thing happened where there was an explosion in Crimea, which Russia has controlled the Crimean Peninsula since 2014. Since the days of Catherine the Great in the 18th century, the Russians have been trying to control Crimea, which was, they don't want, they're trying to impose their authoritarian government on free people. The Russians are claiming that this explosion at the air base in Crimea was because some Russians were smoking cigarettes. The Russians would rather claim total incompetence rather than admit that maybe the Ukrainians have succeeded. If indeed the Ukrainians are starting to make a move on Crimea, it's huge news. But at the same time, it makes people wonder, will the Russians want to escalate this now? Because Ukrainians are now really fighting back in a very serious way. That means that that means Ukraine's in a very strong position. And so there's a little bit of fear that maybe is Russia going to do something crazy? So we're kind of in that phase right now. When it comes to supplies, I think the troops are generally, because of the support from so many people around the world, are pretty well supplied. But now we're looking at the upcoming winter. You're going to need, cold weather gear. There's a huge concerns about gas and fuel. In the city of Lviv, they're now working to make sure that people have gas stoves in this very civilized city, to make sure that people have gas stoves wood burning stoves to get through the winter. With our Ukrainian Freedom News team, we've been able to get drones to soldiers in the east. And we have some students in the Ukrainian Catholic University that take the drones that we buy and they make them even better. And so they can do surveillance work against the Russians. And so we still have this amazing cooperation that's happening. So I would say the biggest thing is the HIMARS, the high mobility rocket launchers. Only a handful have come from the West, and they've made a huge difference. And some Ukrainian officials have, I think there's 12 in operation here now. If there were 50 or 100, this thing could maybe be over pretty quickly. And that's a big question. Why has some of that support been so slow? This is Jordana. This is it's a big geopolitical thing. You look at Crimea Peninsula. Crimea has been in the news. Like in 2014, the Russians took Crimea. Mm-hmm. Obama White House did very little to stop it. A Russian oil company that was a member of the government of Ukraine that the people forced out in 2014. This guy, he had his oil company based in Crimea. He fled to Moscow. He hired the son of the then vice president of the United States, paid him tons of money, and then the Obama White House did nothing about Crimea. And then we also have this corrupt. Here's the difficulty. There's corruption on both the left and the right in America that has been so involved with Ukraine and Russia all these past years. I mean, why was Trump impeached? Was it over Ukraine, right? And then we have, the controversy over the 2016 election. Who was interfering in the 2016 election? Russia. And so I think we really need to step back and say, how is it that these two countries were so much involved in our American political saga for these past years, and now the whole world is. I mean, people are suffering. We have the supply chain crisis. We have inflation. We have fears of war going to other places in Europe. And I think we really need to step back and begin to examine a lot of how we got to this point in order to figure out how do we get out of it.
You're talking about Hunter Biden when you're talking about the.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think it's, we see this on both the left and the right, but Hunter Biden was paid at least $50,000 a month by one of the guys who the Ukrainian people kicked out of their country in 2014. And that always gets lost in the narrative. When sort of American conservatives are criticizing Hunter Biden, they say, oh, he made money in Ukraine and Ukraine's corrupt. No, the money came from the regime, pro-Putin regime that the people kicked out of Ukraine in 2014. And that gets totally missed in this. And that company that paid Hunter Biden made most of their energy resources were in the Crimean Peninsula, which Russia took in 2014. And so that I think that is a key, and it's very difficult to explain some of these things in our American media system, but it's very important to realize that the Ukrainians have been trying to get rid of this pro-Putin, pro-Russian corruption since 2014, and now they had 8 years of freedom when they could build beautiful cities. You look at how Mariupol. It's so terrible to look at Mariupol today. The photos, that city is gone, but it became a lovely seaside city these past 8 years. And same with the city of Kharkiv. It was a very prosperous, beautiful city. It still is, but it gets bombarded every single day. And Putin is trying to erase any memory of a free, prosperous Ukraine. And so that's and then we have these, like the Amnesty International report saying Ukraine's endangering civilians because they have soldiers in their cities. That's because the Russians are trying to invade the cities. You have to have garrisons in these cities. Even in this small mountain town, there are soldiers. And so it's becoming, we have to win the information war now. And that's the only way that Ukraine can continue to get support.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because we as Americans need to hear how we got here. We as Americans need to know our responsibility in all of this so we can help. And I hope that more aid is on its way. I hope that, militarily, whatever you guys need is on its way. And I know we're probably out of time. David's going to kill me for going over, but you mentioned that soldiers are coming to you, telling stories and sharing stories and unloading. Is there anything that maybe stuck out at you from one of the stories from the people that stayed with you for a little bit of a respite that you can share with our listeners?
I would say the first, they speak, every soldier with whom I speak, and a lot of these guys I knew from before the war, they speak with a very business-like approach. They are focused. They're out there in the field. They are focused. They're grateful for the Western equipment that they have. And this is why the Russians have not been able to gain ground, because these guys are able to just get to work and to fight back. I will say also, a lot of these guys they were heroes from 2014. They were in the streets protesting. These are the people that have been fighting corruption. Some of the best corruption fighters the past 8 years are the ones who are getting killed now. And this is another scary thing, because if this continues for so long, you're going to be left with only the sort of the bad people, So this is another reason why you got to win. But I think I see still great hope, especially from the soldiers, even though people get tired. And there's a sense of look, this is their country. They have nowhere else to go. But everyone here keenly believes that they are fighting not just for Ukraine, but for the freedom of the West. Because if Ukraine falls, then what's going to happen? And the Poles realize this. The people in the Baltic countries realize this. They could be next.
How can we help?
You could visit our website, UkrainianFreedomNews.com. We welcome any support there. And I think that the best thing now is to keep paying attention, to keep sharing stories and information about Ukraine, and to ask questions, and to just not accept the narratives that we are fed is the best. And as long as I can keep doing it, I'll be here. I'm not leaving this country until there's victory. And I hope to keep talking with you, and we'll share the truth and the reality here. We continue to look at where U.S. This maybe for next time we can talk about breaking down all the money that comes from America. There's a lot of questions there and a lot of things we have to explain, and we're going to keep doing that.
That'll be for next time. Joe Lindsley, it's great to see you. Thank God you're okay. And I'm so glad you're getting some rest. Again, tell people the website if they want to donate money, boots, anything directly to soldiers. It's
UkrainianFreedomNews.com. And you can also follow me, JP Lindsley, on Instagram.
UkrainianFreedomNews.com, at JP Lindsley on Instagram. I will be sharing this interview, of course, and thank you for being a truth teller, and thank you for fighting the good fight. We support you, Joe.
Jordana, thank you so much.
You got
Keep fighting as well.
We'll be here for you. Joe Lindsley, love talking to him, love checking on him. I'll email his mother a little bit later today and said that I talked to him, because she and I have struck up a little bit of a friendship. As a mother, I would be worried about my son as well. We'll be right back here on Adam and Jordana.